Karen from UpLevel Media Level. Join us for a 3-part series. So I hope you all signed up for the next week and the following week also. They are a wealth of knowledge. Thank you for joining us. I just do want to, just before we begin, just thank my corporate partners. We have Crown Plaza, Eastwood College, Insera Supermarkets, Conica Minolta, M&T Bank, Sheridan Mahwah, TD Bank, and Valley Health System. They are sponsors for the Chamber all year round, and we do appreciate them. And take it away, Donna. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Maureen. I am delighted to join the Mahwah Chamber and Karen for this 3-part series, where Karen and I are going to kind of chit-chat with you a little bit about some of the ways that we are connecting and growing while, quote, I like it in quotes, disconnected, because we never really were. It's just, this is kind of a new way of working for a lot of people, and it presents, like any situation, I think it presents challenges and opportunities. So first of all, let me tell you who I am. I am Donna Miller, president and founder of C3 Workplace. For the last 25 years, we've been helping companies start and grow by providing flexible office space, virtual assistants, because we believe business owners should focus on that which drives their business forward, and they should be delegating and outsourcing very early, those things that don't. We also provide bookkeeping services, because I wholeheartedly believe that financial literacy is a business superpower. And with a few years under my belt, we also provide a fair amount of business growth consulting. So that's what we do. Karen, tell our audience what you do.
Yeah, hi, I'm so happy to be here. I spent a lot of years with the people at the Mahwah Chamber, so it's always fun to get to hang out with everybody at the Chamber. I teach LinkedIn marketing. I mean, you know, I've done digital marketing over the years, but I have really niched down to LinkedIn marketing, because what I found really was that at the end of the day, no matter what I asked people, like, how do you get your clients, 99.5% of them would say referrals. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm teaching all this Twitter stuff and Facebook stuff and all this other stuff, which I love and I still do. But, you know, for me, I want to cut to the chase. How do we increase the bottom line in your business? And if it's referrals, then let me help you focus on LinkedIn, where we can accelerate that process. So that's what I do. I teach entrepreneurs and business owners how to use LinkedIn to grow their bottom line.
Well, I know you've got a wealth of information to share with our audience. And so before we get into our conversation, a little bit of housekeeping. We are recording this meeting so that Mahwah Chamber has it for their library. But also, Karen and I will monitor the chat window and the Q&A window. This is a discussion, really. Feel free to jump in with your questions. We'd like to make this as interactive as possible. I'm sure all of you have been on a gazillion, I don't know if that's a term, but a gazillion Zoom calls in the last couple of months. And we'd like to make this as interactive as possible. So let's kind of start there. Karen, let's step back. As a business owner, what have the last couple of months been like? You know, what have you, you know, it's been, I know the one word that always comes up for me is intense. So what have the last couple of months been like? Let's kind of step back to step forward.
Yeah, so it's interesting. As a business owner, it has been intense. And I actually was in a gigantic conference in the beginning of March. Like, I was in Orlando at this conference with 2,000 people. As a speaker, I had a suite there. I was running a little mini masterminds. I was hosting breakfast in my suite. I had hundreds of people in and out of my suite. And when we showed up there, like, let's say it was on a Thursday, one of my actually somebody that I mastermind with had flown in from the UK to be at this thing. And we were planning all these workshops where it was so good to be in the same room together. And we were going to do all these workshops in New York. And by Tuesday, when I left, we were like, we can't be planning workshops in New York. People aren't going to want to get on the subway from uptown to downtown. Never mind get on a plane. So it hit my business so hard in 4 days. Yeah. And the conference started out by, and being such a big part of the conference, you know, we were very careful about, because there was talk about an issue, right? So had lots of hand sanitizer, you know, did a lot of stuff like that. But by the end of the conference, I literally had people coming up to me that had seen my talk saying, how long are you going to be in Orlando? Because we've got another conference after this. And at least 3 people said, our speakers are dropping like flies. Can you hang around and speak at our events? And turns out all those events ended up canceled. right?
Yeah.
So that's how fast it hit my business. So then I have family in Florida, so I wasn't planning on coming straight home, but I was like, you know what, I better hightail it out of here and get back to New Jersey. And I work from home, right? So as a business owner, I'm like, this is no big deal. I work from home, but somehow it's different. Somehow it's different. And I can talk a little bit about the business itself, but just from a business owner standpoint, it's been different because not only am I managing my own energy and my own tasks in a way that even though I work from home, it's different, but I have people that work for me that are being have an emotional toll around all of this, and that affects their ability to what they're doing. So I have to be sensitive to that. I have clients that are having issues. So as a business owner, this isn't really just about what it's doing to my bottom line and how I address that, but it's really about how I'm managing my team who worked remotely always, but are now being hit with this. And it's not an emotional roller coaster that this week you feel this and next week you feel that. It's this hour you feel this and the next hour you feel that. So that's kind of what it's been like for me. It kind of hit hard fast and has been a roller coaster, frankly, and it's still a roller coaster.
I completely agree. It's been similar for us. And for those of you, on this little chat with us today, first of all, I want to encourage you to use the chat window to introduce yourselves, to network with each other, because really that is part of how we'll be networking going forwarding is when we're on this Zoom meeting, is using those chat windows to interact with other people. And Karen, I couldn't agree more. We were talking when we were getting ready for this call, C3 Workplace has been on-site and remote, mostly remote, for I'm going to say 5, 6, 7 years now. So I'm saying everything is the same and everything is completely different. It is the intensity, and for us, I'm sure, like a lot of our participants, like you said, it happened fast. It was, within 2 weeks you saw things. I mean, for you it was a couple of days. We saw changes happening. We saw people retreating. We saw, I had people calling me, asking me, are we going to be open? And we're an essential business. So for us, those first couple of months were really, we were able to secure PPP loan money, which was great. But it was that first couple of weeks of just really intensive financial scrutiny. And thank goodness, we have a QuickBooks team that we were able to help ourselves and our clients gain perspective around some of those operational and financial issues that were impacting them. And I think that's something that we're going to have to continue to do, is to really, as business owners and as businesses, two things. I think we're going to have to continue to learn to run lean. I mean, that's something we've been catering to for a very long time. I always say, keep your overhead as low as possible for as long as possible. But also it's this managing the remote team. And just this morning, we had a full team Zoom meeting, and I like to get my whole team involved in marketing strategy because they are front lines. They have more interaction with the clients than I do on many levels now. So I'm really wanting to, get their input. And I do find that this current situation has affected everyone differently. And I really agree with what you're saying as far as it being almost an hour-to-hour situation. Like, forget days, forget months. It's, okay, right now it's 12:24 and my energy is pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be there at 12:40.
Exactly. It's exactly
44.
Right.
So it is crazy. And I think for those of us that have employees or have team members, I think it's really important to be aware of that. And I think that's a good segue to what we wanted to talk about kind of first. I want to talk a little bit about in this COVID environment. I know that many of our participants, we all have to still generate leads. We have to do business development activities. So what are you doing? What are you helping your clients to do? It's a new world. How are we prospecting these days?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you that question first. How are you prospecting these days? Because I'm going right to LinkedIn. So
that's great.
I'm gonna let you go first.
That's fine. And I think
we can segue to that.
Fair enough. And I think it's really probably very similar for me, having opened this company with a very clear intention of being a force for good, and for really I love small business. I love entrepreneurs. Nobody had to tell me 25 years ago that small business was the backbone of this country. I knew that for myself. So the way that we pivoted early on was to say, okay, what do we have that people need? I always believe that business development or sales is a matter of identifying pain and providing a solution. There is no loss of pain right now. So it's a matter of what's the solution that you can put out there into the world. So we started off very quickly by we created a COVID resource page on our website because like everyone else, we were bombarded with information. So we put it all on the website, and then we would include that in our email tags and our email marketing. And again, it's marketing. I'm driving traffic to my website. It still sounds marketing. But the other thing we've done a lot of, which turned out to be a great marketing strategy, was we've been doing a fair amount of pro bono training and consulting. I would say we did 15 minutes Zoom training calls in that first couple of months, because you know LinkedIn really well. Everything on LinkedIn is really easy for you, Karen, but if I don't know LinkedIn, it's like, oh my gosh, when someone shows you how to do something. So we did a ton of pro bono consulting. We've created cash flow tools. We've created operational assessments, because I believe now is the time to take a high level view of what you're doing, and does everything flow into everything else. So our business development strategy has been to listen to the pain, provide solutions. And I'll be really honest with you, because we've been in business for a long time, we have a pretty big database. So we're going deep on our own database.
Oh, I love that. I love that, Donna.
Yeah, we're doing our regular email marketing and our social media posting. Yep. We're not doing paid advertising. We're not going wide. We're going deep.
Oh my gosh.
Right? So
I have a lot to say about that.
Former clients. So let me ask you a
question first. When you offered these pro bono sessions and when you offered all these tools, did that bring you leads?
Absolutely. Not only did it bring us leads, but it helped us to identify exactly what packages we could create. For instance, as the result of one.
I hope everybody's listening to this, by the way.
I know. Right. As the result, and pro bono training is marketing. Right? It's business development. So as a result of one Zoom training that we did with an existing client, we ended up getting a project from that client where we helped him. It's a 3-month engagement. We helped him go from face-to-face meetings only to online meetings. And we trained him how to use Zoom. We helped him develop content and messaging. We created standard operating practices so that when he has a speaker, he can send the speaker the list of here's what makes a great thing. So yes, our pro bono consulting has led to some very nice new business.
Yeah. And so here's the thing. I love that. And I've done something similar. I'll explain it in a second. But what I love about that is what I find that many of the people I speak to don't really understand is that when you provide pro bono services like that, you are learning just as much from those people as they are from you, because you're learning how to position your services, what they need, what their pain points are, and that helps your marketing, right? And where you can help them with that. So that's very similar to what I did, right? So let me just address one thing where you talked about going deep. There's nobody here who at this point that knows me or whatever knows we're not going to be doesn't think we're going to be talking about LinkedIn here. And yes, I absolutely want you to be proactive on LinkedIn. I absolutely want you to be connecting consistently, but you have a deep network that you have probably been ignoring. And today is the day to reach out to them. If and that, like, because a lot of people say to me, well, I connect and nobody answers. And my answer is always, because you're not warming it up enough. Like, you're just going after all this cold traffic. If you look at your LinkedIn network, and let's say you have 100 people or 500 people or 1,000 people or 10,000 people, doesn't matter what the number is. I want you to cherry pick. I don't want you to just reach out to everyone. I want you to say, who are the 5 people that I'm already connected to on LinkedIn that I really should talk to? Because I think there's opportunity there. And you're not reaching out to them and saying, hey, Susie, it's Karen Yankovich. We've been connected here and you've never bought my LinkedIn services. Like, I'm not doing that. That's like walking into a Mahwah Chamber networking meeting, sticking out your hand and saying, I'm Karen, buy my stuff, right? You're not doing that. You're reaching out, you're saying, hey, Susie, we've been connected here on LinkedIn for a couple years. I think we met at that Mahwah Chamber event a couple years ago. We never really made time to get to know each other. I'm taking some time now that I'm, my networking is happening in front of my computer. We're probably not going to a meeting at, a luncheon anytime soon, to get to know these people. It looks like you're doing some really cool things. I'd love to hear more about it. If you dive into your existing LinkedIn network, so Donna, you have a great size database, cool. But you don't need to have a great size database to be doing this. You probably have some LinkedIn connections that you should be doing this with right now. So that's one thing that we're doing. But the other thing that I'm doing, because this is the skill that I have been teaching forever and ever, it seems like, but it's really for a few years, 5 years, 10 years, is how to do virtual networking, how to use LinkedIn to build relationships. Right. I have never taught connect with 100 people on LinkedIn and see what sticks. I've always taught micro-targeted, be micro-targeted, see who the most valuable people could be, and then build relationships with them. So that is a skill that I have been teaching for years, but now everybody knows they need that skill. And here's what I think that this is not a skill that you need for this season in your business. It's a skill that you need forever, because the virtual networking, like, I can give you an example. So I see Kirsten is here from NJ Biz. So I met Kirsten and Ken Cazalis, the publisher at NJ Biz, at a Mahwah Chamber event a couple years ago. And oops, my headset's falling out. At the time, I was negotiating with another publication and about doing some in-person LinkedIn workshops in New Jersey. And it just didn't, the person that I was negotiating with got laid off. So it kind of fell apart. But I was like, this was a really good idea. So when I met Ken, I'm like, we should do these in New Jersey and you should sponsor them. He's like, yeah, sure. Let's do that, Karen. And it was cool. But I didn't haunt him, but I connected with him on LinkedIn after the event, and I stayed connected to him. And I reached out to him every now and then. And I don't know if he even remembers this, but about 6 months ago, there was a picture of Governor Murphy and Gary Vaynerchuk on social media. And I took a screenshot of it and I emailed it to Ken and I said, we need to get in on this Entrepreneurs in New Jersey action. He's like, you're right, come on in, let's talk about doing this. So I come in, we're talking about doing these in-person workshops. Boom, it's now February, March, and we can't do it. So I reached back out to him again through LinkedIn, through connections, and said, why don't we do this virtually? And it ended up being a workshop that I think 3,500 people registered for. It was gigantic, but it became a thing because I dove deep into my relationships. I built relationships with people that I met through the Mahwah Chamber. I didn't want to connect with everyone there. I just dove deep into my relationships and looked for the opportunities that I thought would be most valuable for me. Not who was going to buy something from me, because Ken was never going to buy something from me. It was who could be most valuable. And that's what I'm teaching right now. And from these workshops that we're doing, that's where most of our leads are coming in. But from those leads, we're doing the same thing you're doing. We're doing complimentary consultations. And just the results that people are getting just from those complimentary consultations have been so fun, and we're learning so much, and it's helping us tweak everything that we do. But it's the same strategy, a little bit different than I'm using speaking, because the message I have right now is a message that's really the right message at the right time. Absolutely. So that's really where the front end is for me. And then I've also shifted the messaging around my content marketing, which has provided us leads. Like, I have a podcast, Good Girls Get Rich, and I've shifted them. I don't really want to be all COVID-19 all the time, but it's a reality of business, right? It's spring of 2020 when I'm recording this. So there's a lot of things in there that I'm teaching to help people understand how to really get good. Like, if you're waiting for this to be over, to go back to the way you used to be networking, you're going back, you're in trouble. You're in trouble.
Exactly. So I want to sidetrack a tiny bit because I think it's really important. You've used the term micro-target. You were a digital marketer and you niched down to LinkedIn. And this is kind of a business owner thing. I think I've known business owners who have niched with great trepidation, but I always say being a big fish in a small pond is the way to go. So talk to me a little bit about how you did that for yourself and how you help your clients to micro-target. I love that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This could be a 3-hour call.
I know. And it's flying by fast. We only have like 10 minutes left.
Yeah, no. Okay, so I'll be quick.
Oh, we got 3 parts.
So here's the thing. I learned, so I'll give you an example of how I learned how to do this. When I first started to learn digital marketing, I was teaching digital marketing, and I love it, right? But honestly, I was teaching digital marketing, and I was doing webinars, and this was back in like maybe 2010. And I would do a webinar and 10 people would join, 5 people would join. But at the same time, I actually am really, I'm really passionate about like spirituality, and I'm a Reiki master, which a lot of people don't know. Because I get that, I understand the right brain, left brain thing. And I understand that a lot of people that are in those more heart-centered businesses struggle a little bit more with marketing because they don't feel comfortable. And I get them. So somebody challenged me early on to say, create a webinar. Now remember, my webinars were getting 220 people register them. Create a webinar that's called How to Make Money with Your Reiki Practice. 500 people registered.
Wow.
I was like, holy crap, right? But I was like, all right, I get it. So now I could take that same webinar and say, insert yoga over Reiki, insert CPA over yoga. But I learned that firsthand. So that was my first like eye-opening experience to that. And I don't need 1 million clients, right? So and here's the other thing, as I was doing digital marketing, I was exhausting myself because all of these platforms change every time you blink your eyes. And I needed to be on top of them all. And then I'm paying people to be on top of them all. And then people would call me and they're like, why is this person following me on Twitter? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe they like you, right? But it became like, it got to all this crazy stuff. So, but what I found, and I'll go back to what I said in the beginning, every time I ask the question, where does the business come from? They say referrals. Right. So I was like, so I really looked at how can we leverage this cool digital marketing world that we live in and put some fire under referral marketing. And that kept bringing me back to LinkedIn. The other thing that I think is really unique is that we want to know more about the people we do business with, right? So to me, that's why I started doing that. But I have to tell you, even within that, I've kind of niched down even further, and it is a little bit nerve-wracking to do this stuff. I got to tell you, it is a little bit nerve-wracking. So, because you're feeling like you're leaving money on the table. But here's the other thing before we get to that. If somebody goes to the Mahwah Chamber and they have an event coming up and they say, and the Mahwah Chamber's like, okay, we need a social media speaker. Mahwah has some great social media people there, right? If they go to the Mahwah Chamber and say, we need a LinkedIn speaker, 10 people are going to say, call Karen. Right. And that is really what started the transition for me, was I started to realize the more I became known for LinkedIn, and the more I strayed from that. The more I became known for LinkedIn, the more money I had in my bank account. The more I let myself get distracted, the quicker my bank account shrank.
Amazing.
So I did it even further. So then about a year ago, I challenged again by somebody, and because at the end of the day, I teach LinkedIn, I think, very differently than anyone else. It's a real right brain, left brain thing. There's a lot of mindset to it. It's really, who do you want to be? It's not just tactical. It's how do you want to be seen in this world? What is the big win you want to have? And what would that person that already has that big win, how would they be talking about themselves right now, right? So it was a really right brain, left brain thing. So I was challenged again to say, my podcast is called Good Girls Get Rich. So I have this big audience of women that I support through my podcast. I rebranded my LinkedIn strategy course to be called She's Linked Up Accelerator Program, LinkedIn for Women Influencers, because there's nobody on the planet that I know of that has a LinkedIn for women class. Now, I don't care what your body parts are. I don't care how you identify. You're welcome to take the class. But I was feeling that women were not feeling included on LinkedIn, and I wanted to make them feel included. I got an email just the other day from somebody I know very well who said, there's so many men that want your service, Karen. You know, you're putting them off with all of this. I was like, yeah, I'm good. Right. You're welcome. Right. They're welcome to take it. They're still welcome to take my course. But I had to have enough confidence in what I was doing to do that. But I know that this is what sets me apart from everybody else that teaches LinkedIn.
That's
It's an
awesome.
important, niching down is so important, and so important to have fast results, I think. But it's scary.
I totally agree.
I get
that
it's
is
scary.
amazing. That is really, really good. And it is scary. And so, time flies. We only have 5 minutes left. So I want to recap, first of all, what Karen and I both very much agree on is cherry pick and go deep. This is not a spray and pray time for marketing. And I agree, getting very clear on your niche is really important. And I think also as a company, as any organization, whether it's just you, whether you have a team or you have employees, whatever stage you're at, it's never about more revenue. It's about more profit. It's about finding your sweet spot.
Yes.
Bigger isn't always better. And for me, we do offer several different silos of services, but they are not silos. They very much leverage each other. And then the other tip I want everyone to take away from today is that pro bono work is, I like to call it edu marketing. It is not, free services. And as you said, Karen, you get so much more from those clients because you're getting under the hood with them. You're really getting to understand what's going on in their world. And that information is so valuable, not only for that client, but for everyone else. So in our last couple of minutes, I just want to come back to working remotely because because it's the topic that seems to keep coming back up. So I just want to ask you in the last, minutes, share with the audience some of the things you've been doing consistently or that you find particularly effective for managing yourself and your team remotely.
Yeah. So I'm going to preface this by saying you do you, okay? I have no judgment for what you do. But for me, I am showered and dressed with makeup on by 8 a.m. every day. That is because I then am ready to turn my camera on at any time. If I'm talking to somebody and I want to do a quick LinkedIn, Instagram live or Instagram story or something, I can, because I work from home. And let me tell you something, that is not the case normally. Like I work from home normally. I joke that, this might be too much information, but very often all I need to do to go from the clothes I wear during the day to go to bed is take off the bra and I'm good and I can go to bed. Do you know what I mean? Like, so trust me when I tell you, like I am not always dressed, but I feel like at this moment in time, it's important for me, because it's so busy in my business, it helps me stay focused as a business owner. I even do it on the weekends. And so that's really the number one thing I've done. And that's a work from home tip because you just don't, if you're under your covers and you're, no judgment if that's what you're doing, but I know that I have people that depend on me in my business and I've got to keep bringing it. And for me, I don't care whether they're showered every day, right? But I need to bring it so that I can continue to show up as the leader of my team. And I feel like I need to do that. So that's my biggest tip was for me, but I get it if that's not something. What about you, Donna? What do you think is your biggest tip?
Yeah, I mean, for myself personally, the best thing that I do is what I have found a little bit challenging, which I've never found challenging before because I'm the original work-life integration gal. Trust me, this business is all about funding the life of my dreams, not the other way around. I have found a little bit more challenging to create that separation between work and personal. So one of the things I find really helpful is after a certain hour, and I don't work late because I start early, so it's probably 4 or 5 o'clock, this becomes just a phone and I do not carry it with me. I turn the ringer on, I leave it in a separate room, and I am not scrolling through my phone all night long because that just keeps me too connected. So we talk to a lot of business owners that working from home, disconnecting can be very difficult. So for me, that means physically putting my phone in a different room, shutting my computer down.
I love that.
Putting my phone in a different room and letting my phone just be a phone. That's it. So holy moly, would you believe that was a half hour?
That was fast. That was fun though. That was fun. I hope it was helpful.
I hope it was helpful. I hope you all took some good tidbits away. Go deep, work your existing network, micro target, We gave you some tips for working at home. Next week, what I'd like to talk about too, Karen, is how we work with our teams and how we work with each other and how we engage virtually, because Zoom is great, but I think lots of us are starting to struggle with a little bit of Zoom fatigue.
Yeah.
So, Karen, how do people...
Well, for anybody that's watching this either now or on the replay, along those lines of what Donna just said, if there's anything in particular you want to hear from us, email Maureen and let her know.
Absolutely.
So we'll try and blend it in.
Yep, and we'll have questions. So, Karen, how do people reach you if they need to?
LinkedIn, baby. And I put my thing in here, Karen Yankovich, linkedin.com/Karen Yankovich. And if you want to get on one of those, those pro bono calls, just go to KarenYankovich.com/book and you can get. We do have an application mainly because I want to know more about you before I get on the phone with you. I don't want to take the first 5 minutes of our call learning about you, but feel free to grab a spot. I'm happy to chat with you.
Agreed. Well, you can reach me, Donna, at c3workplace.com. Visit the website, go to the resources page. You'll see all those things that I mentioned as far as resources and pro bono opportunities. And until next week, be well, everyone. Thanks, Karen. Thanks, everyone. Bye, Maureen. I know she's listening. Take care.